You are listening to an independent production. All additional audio elements were provided copyright-free and belong to their respective owners. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the newest episode of Gateway to Eden, where we talk about how we're building the co-op. It's a co-op, not a commune. We are legitimately trying to make a better place for us to live in, especially with the current political events going on in the world. I am Broseph Seed, as you all know, the reluctant leader of this whole effort. I am joined by Bombed Carnivore and Vickrol the Fluff Dragon. And then we have a couple of guests today. We have Silver, I got it right this time. We have Silver the Fox and Avery the Penguin. We are talking about kitchens today. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves, talk about yourselves a little bit.
I'm Bombed Carnivore. I am a mechanic of all things.
I'm Vickrol. I'm a truck driver and video game developer.
I'm Avery. I went to school for culinary arts, and I do engineering on the side now.
I'm Silver. I am a food service professional. I've been in the industry for almost 20 years, and I've done everything from fine dining to fast food and mass quantities to individual portions.
And like I said, these are our two guests today because we are going to be talking about kitchens and food service stuff for the commune, specifically about the very beginning when we're first building everything up, like buildings and such, and we're roughing it, which is probably going to be the hardest part of starting this whole thing.
I'm hungry now.
I'm hungry too, but I'm on a diet, so.
And I'm on a seafood diet. Seafood, I eat it.
Best kind of diet. All right, so let's get started on this. So, starting out,
The Co-op Community Center.
so that's probably going to be one of the first buildings that's going to be built just because, it's the community center. This will provide us with a nice dry place to have meals, a place that we can shelter into as well. I just realized this. I don't know if we mentioned it yesterday, but I just realized we could probably put the community showers in there too.
Probably. And I would say let's do it, because right after we start getting going, after we have temporary housing, which will be really crappy, the startup group can use the community center as kind of living quarters while we get everybody's houses set up.
So we should add on like a bunking area to the community center as well, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, yes, because we're going to need temporary housing while we're running the whole thing, so.
I think the general idea for something like that would be that the community center would be a large building with a kitchen and facilities on one side with a big open space, right? You could do it like a basketball court. You can individually set up like bunks and stuff, and even put like temporary divider walls for privacy for individuals. I mean, you're not going to be able to do much for sound, but that would be great for that sort of thing.
And I will promptly be relegated back to the tents because I snore.
You'll be forced back to the tents. I'll just willingly take the tents because I like camping.
So we were looking at the trailerized options, right?
The trailerized kitchen option, was it?
Yes.
So we had looked at two different surplus kitchen trailers.
The MKT and the MCT.
Yeah. One is an open arrangement, older. And then the other one is a more modern setup that does cost more, but it comes enclosed in its own, like, quote-unquote shipping container.
And I believe the MKT was about $8,000 and the MCT was closer in the neighborhood of $20,000 used.
There's the MCT. The MKT is just the photo, right?
Mind you, bidding price starts at $500, but these things tend to get bid up pretty fast.
Like for a cheap kitchen that's mobile like that. MCT, they're pretty much the same thing, yes?
Yeah. So, like, if we were to buy, say, a shipping container kitchen, we'd be looking at a ton of money because those are pretty expensive. But the military surplus stuff, you get it cheap because it's military grade.
It's military grade, but it's also been used and abused.
You say something is military grade, it was made by the cheapest possible option.
But it was also built to a standard where you're intending to hand this stuff off to 18 and 19-year-olds who are going to do the dumb thing.
And, like,
And they built it to be able to be repaired and maintained regularly.
Also, these kitchens tend to run on, I forgot what the military version of kerosene was, JP8 or something like that. So we'd have to get kerosene to run all the burners.
Which isn't that hard, right?
We could probably get kerosene delivered. It's not something you normally find at gas stations, unless said gas station also is servicing a bunch of farms.
Well, if we set up in a good spot near like a local co-op and put in for it, some of those folks do have like their own fueling stations and would have stuff like kerosene available.
A local co-op like us?
Well, co-ops can be cooperative, right? Working
Yeah.
together.
That is the point of a co-op.
But like, I like the military trailer one, the single axle. It folds down. You can walk up the stairs, get your food, and walk back down the stairs. There are upsides and downsides. The more modern one has more cooking room than this one,
But not so much serving room.
but not so much on the serving room.
Something like the one that's up right now would be perfect for between, I would say, 10 to 50 people. Could push it up to 100 if you had some good quality folks in there pushing. I guess the real trick is with it being open, yes, it doesn't get very hot, but if weather's bad or if it's already hot, then that sort of environment can get really hard on the people working in the kitchen.
Oh, my question is, right, because obviously with a kitchen this size, we're going to have a slight capacity issue at first.
Yeah, I was
Kit-
actually about to ask, like, how many people do you think we'd be expecting to start out and actually building? That's one of the things we need to take into consideration that I forgot about.
Well, depending on who all you get into it, I would estimate about 20, and this would feed them perfectly. You keep one person in here keeping hot water and fuel up for coffee and other things throughout the day, and then just kind of cycle through stuff.
So, pretty decent. What were you saying, Avery? So, I apologize.
I was going to say, if we were starting off larger, if capacity is an issue, we can get two of the cheaper ones, right? And see if we can remove like that front stair and then try and put them together, like a temporary put together on them.
If you take off the lunnet hitch, you can back one up to the other.
That's what I'm saying. And then have a double wide kitchen.
I mean, you just
That-
make it long.
Well, that's
This solves the cooking issue, but what about dry food or cold food storage specifically?
With
Because this doesn't have space for any of that. You'd have to have something off to the side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember yesterday we were talking about getting a reefer trailer, either buying one or renting one, because I know Vickrell said that he has a contact for that. Silver, did you say that you had one too?
No, I had suggestions. I don't have any
Okay.
direct contacts for stuff like that anymore.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. But Vickrell has a contact. Silver, you
Yeah.
know where to get them too. So that's good. That's good for us, whether we have a contact or where we know to get them.
For dry food storage, we would probably just use an intermodal shipping container set up on blocks just to keep it dry.
throw a few kitchen racks in there.
Throw a few kitchen racks, build a couple of shelves, do what we got to do. Now, remember, this trailer is supposed to be basically just for the pilot crew till we get the community center up with its own kitchen.
And then I remember we were talking about we would save the trailer kitchens, and like in the event of a disaster, we would, roll them out to essentially help with disasters like that. And I think community outreach for our co-op doing stuff like that would be a great idea.
And with the folks that you have starting this being, comfortable and knowledgeable about the equipment, it would make it easier for them to get in somewhere and set up.
And you wouldn't necessarily just have to use them for relief efforts. We could possibly loan them out, donate time and to local concerts.
Oh yeah, because we were a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how we would fund the commune, and that sounds like it would be a good funding opportunity.
Yeah, mobile catering, where we bring our own kitchen and set up and kind of run through it.
And basically you need 2 trucks, one for the haul the trailer, one for the food storage. Depending on the weight of the trailer, you might be able to get away with 1 truck for both.
Here's my question. What kind of truck do we need to haul the kitchen trailer? Does it need to be a semi-sized truck?
Those 2 military surplus trailers we're looking at right now are meant to be towed behind like M35,
Okay.
Yeah,
An
2.5,
LMTV.
a medium duty straight body
250.
truck.
So
Yeah.
not so much a semi truck, but still a heavy duty
You could
truck
tuck behind a
that's bigger
dump
than
truck.
Okay, so
would be
that does
successful.
if in that case, here's a thought. Here's a thought, and as always, feel free to shoot the thought down. I forget the letter and number designation, but a deuce and a half, one of those kinds of trucks. We put a reefer box onto the back of it and have it tow the kitchen. Because then it's
Absolutely could do that.
Yeah, that I've seen that done. It's actually a great idea.
Awesome. I've never seen it done, but I also never stepped foot in like war zones. I just stayed on the sub. I stayed on the boat. So
I spent so much time in field mess, it's ridiculous.
And we were talking about community showers a little bit. For the pilot crew, mostly running a copper coil through a water bath that's been stuck in a fire pit to get hot water for bathing and such.
This is what the military uses to cool stuff for refrigerators.
2014 Great Dane trailer. So this is just a basic reefer.
No, below
trailer?
that.
Oh.
Below that.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, you had asked about trailers, so I found you a 2014 Great Dane.
So, and this is just the pallet size reefer unit that just drops down on the floor.
You drop on the floor and hook a tube into what you're wanting to cool.
It looks like a self-contained unit.
It is entirely self-contained. That's
Also
just a
connected
cooling
to,
unit. The way the military does it, instead of having like they usually run like just off the shelf reefer ISO containers, shipping containers with reefer units on them. This is you have set up a structure and you need to cool it to a refrigerator or freezer standard. You plug this thing into that building and turns that building into a freezer.
Raya just posted something in chat about communal showers. Just an idea, if we can't get community showers right away, there are trucks that can be used as mobile showers with laundry service. And yeah, I was actually about to suggest that. Unless everyone who's like the pilot crew, unless they're okay with, showering in the woods, I think we should, I agree with that idea. I think that's what we should go with.
Even if you are okay with showering in the woods, having a proper hot shower at the end of a long day of work really helps with the headspace.
Showers sipping container with Connex portable showers. 45 grand on eBay.
And that's a shiny. That looks like a brand spanking new one that's all shiny and all that.
But look, it's got its own heating and cooling, water, all that. All you got to do is hook the water up to it for in and outflow.
I'd imagine some flavor of fuel or power to run the heating and cooling.
We're going to be running a lot of ag diesel.
Fair.
In this listing, there are 2 different units. There's that
45
blue unit
maybe.
with all individual showers, and then there is the white unit that has like communal shower setup with handicap accessible.
So I was actually about to ask about that. What would we be more comfortable with, having the communal shower setup or having individuals?
The communal shower setup might be cheaper if we can find it from another retailer.
It'll be cheaper because it is less desirable.
We also have to worry about safety for individuals. Like you've got folks who can't shower with other types of folks and stuff like that. So there would have to be like set shower time, with a schedule or something.
We'd kind of have to get 2 different boxes regardless. One that's communal and one that's a little more segregated.
Or just go for 2
a shorter box. We probably get a shorter box for the individual showers and then a bigger one for communal box showers. But again, we're looking at $100,000 in showers right now if we got 2. Because you're going to pay about 5 to 8 grand to ship the thing.
Really and truly, if we get a couple people who are industrious and know what they're doing, we could take the idea from the prefab and construct it ourselves for roughly half the price.
We also need to look at, what are we going to do while we're doing that prefab? Because even prefab takes some time.
This is why we want the prefab, so we can have something hooking up to fuel, water, and we're ready to rock. For the pilot crew, once we get housing built and established, everybody's going to have their own bathroom in their own house. There's going to be bathrooms in the community center. I'm sure because of the size of the place, we'll have some public restrooms scattered around here and there. So while these prefab units will be expensive up front, once we have other accommodations set up to go, we can sell these off again and recoup at least 50% of the investment.
Good. That answers my next question, which was, how do we get back our investment on these?
Or we can rent them out to events and the like and hang on to them for use for disaster relief.
Yeah.
Because again, this would also be really handy for disaster relief.
Yeah, that's solid.
So you could sell if we get two, we can sell one and hang on to one.
Architect brings up a point. If there are communal showers, there should be a guard of some sort. No two people alone at any time. It's not a bad idea. It's just figuring out how to do that.
We could just get like 2 boxes with the individual showers, and then you lock it from the inside, and you don't really. Kind of negates the need for a guard for the most part, because it's going to be like the 20 people in the pilot crew. I'm sure if any one of us steps out of line, the other 19 of us are going to jump on them.
Especially with the point of what this community is supposed to be, too. Because,
exactly.
It's always going to come.
We're going to walk in the woods and...
It's going to keep popping up. This community is meant to be I don't want to say safe space, but it is a safe space. It's a place for us to. It's a safe haven. That's the word. It's a safe haven for us, for members of the LGBTQ, for minorities, for everyone who is disenfranchised, especially with the recent political events going on.
And we could always they have porta-john size ones. If you check the chat, they have silver link to a porta-john sized shower.
Different versions of different things too that are significantly cheaper, and a couple of those would work well.
And they do make handicap accessible versions of that, I'm sure.
So something like that would be great for while we're doing the prefab stuff.
The initial setup, yeah. Once we get the community center going, it would be less needed. But for $1,500, we can hang on to it and keep it around wherever we're doing construction and stuff, just in case somebody gets a little extra dirty.
I might be a little behind on the loop, but what are we doing for water in general? Because I'm assuming we're not going to have a city hookup immediately.
That is a good question, and I completely forgot about that.
I'm sitting here thinking we're talking about showers, but we kind of need water for that to work, let alone electricity.
When we go up, say, Vermont, Maine, whatever, we're going to have well water. So we can probably put in 3 wells, like deep aquifer wells, and then run it into, they make water plants out of Connex boxes, shipping containers, that you can purify the water in and then ship it out to the rest of the commune area. But we're going to need like a trencher.
Which we can pick up on Ritchie Brothers on the cheap, fix it up.
I was about to say, I wonder how we're going to get one of those. Bombed carnivore and Vicryl.
Same way we're getting half the other equipment. Auctions, maybe, if we're lucky, some donations.
Yeah, I dropped another link in the Discord that has modular shower units, and they do everything on that site, and pricing's not bad. If you look at the top of the page there, so let me get back on the right page myself. Check out the showroom tab and look at what they got. Residential, grow house.
House in a dome! House in a dome!
Right?
Oh god, it's a glass house.
Home in a dome!
Option there.
Oh.
It's
What is that? Better not throw stones from that.
It looks like what they did was they threw up a Connex box, made into a tiny house, and then said, you know what this needs? A dome around it.
I'm just saying, that looks like it'll vibe when, like, in the middle of a thunderstorm.
We should get a couple of those just because.
I kind of want to now. Home in a dome!
And I've always wanted to live in half of the Epcot ball.
See, those don't look half bad, and if they're not expensive.
God, that is just so. Oh, all right. Anyways, I like the modular container units that go for under 10 grand.
Well, they start under 10 grand.
Yeah.
God only knows what they go to. Units are flat pack and ready assembly for assembly at site. So it's not like a whole container is built and ready to go. You gotta IKEA that shit.
All right. I'm fine with that.
Like he kind of getting out of hand.
Why do I have 17 bolts?
Yeah.
I bring up the question of what's stopping us from just buying our own shipping container and prefabbing it ourselves.
We're
It'll
going to
take-
do that with a lot of it.
So for like while we're doing that, the link that Silver sent with the porta potty style shower would probably be what we're using while we're doing that. So.
Oh, that is truly a porta potty style. I didn't see it at first. No, that's.
And
Mhm.
that's something at
they're
a
cheap.
price that, you know, I don't mind buying it and then keeping it. It's not something that we would have to worry about getting a return on, would we?
You'd also probably have to do a quick class on how to appropriately use these things, because not a lot of folks know that you can't just take a 40-minute shower. It is wet yourself down, soap up, do whatever you need to do, then rinse off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Good
I
board.
mean it's got a tankless water heater, but yeah, we would need to just
For a while, we might be running potable water in until we can get
Right.
the water
trenches
treatment
dug.
plant.
No,
All
like,
I'm hearing is I'm going to get a Planet Fitness. Go to Planet
If you
Fitness,
can
get a
find one.
proper shower.
if you can find a Planet Fitness in the area.
So I guess that means since we're building the community building first, the requirements for that building would be a cafeteria style place to eat, a kitchen, toilets and showers, and then an area to sleep so that we don't have to stay in tents.
Ideally, yes.
Ideally, though, I see a lot of people showing up in like campers and vans.
True. Yeah, with everyone
I was
showing
gonna-
up at that and stuff like that, I think we would still need to add those on first just because, you know, I've done it in campers too, and after a while that can get old.
I mean, like, you know, if people show up in campers or throw an air mattress in the back of their SUV or whatever,
So we've mentioned this before, but a lot of the stuff we're going to need military vehicles like the Deuce and a Half. The Vickrell, you literally just posted a M34-9A4 reefer trailer. So yeah, I'm assuming that's a military vehicle as well.
that's a trailer.
That's the trailer.
That's like the
Okay.
military. That's a old school military refrigerated trailer.
A fifth wheel trailer.
Fifth wheel, single axle.
So now you're getting into Class A CDL stuff.
There's not a whole lot of them, but they are pretty cheap to buy if you find one.
Here's one in Delta, Pennsylvania. It's not a reefer trailer. It's just a empty.
That's the reefer.
Trailer.
That's it.
That's it. It just doesn't
Yeah.
have the reefer unit on it.
No, none of them ever do. You park that, park it on the ground, and then plug the tube. It's a big square thing into the front of that, and you can hook multiple trailers together with one reefer unit.
The things you could find on Facebook Marketplace.
So getting a lot of this stuff looks like it's going to be decently affordable. We should probably start looking into what kind of budget we're looking at for this.
We found a Class A CDL driver.
I
In
saw.
chat.
I'm looking at the chat right now. That's awesome, Armitage. So we have Vickrell. What class do you have?
I have a Class B
Class
with
B.
passenger. I originally got in to be a bus driver and found out I hated it.
Bomb Carnivore. I know you don't have one, but you would need one, is what you were saying before.
Yeah, I probably should get it.
And then my father used to have a Class A. I don't know if I'm really going to be having him help at all. He hated driving semi. I may have to get my own.
Just because you have it doesn't mean you have to use it.
Fair, but at the same time, big truck go vroom. So I'm also assuming that we're gonna need a couple. If we don't, Vickrell, I already know you have quite a few of these big guys, but we're gonna need a couple of large military-sized trucks and semi trucks.
I can tell you what works and doesn't work. Don't buy an MTVR. Everybody wants one right now, and there's no parts for them.
Got it. Yeah, that's huge. Anyway, I remember for a while I really wanted a Deuce and a Half because that was popular.
And don't get a Hammett. That's the sort of wedgy front, 8-wheel
Ah,
drive,
Okay,
10-ton.
Yeah.
They are not maneuverable,
fair.
and you go deaf. It's
I'm already
basically
deaf.
windshield your head engine. No muffler.
I'm already deaf. Okay, because
And it's not just any engine, it's a two-stroke Detroit. right
Mhm.
behind your head.
I've been in a truck like that before, and I can tell you it is nothing compared to the diesel engine of a submarine, because that's what I spent. That's where the reactor operating room is, right next to that.
I will die on this hill that the Hemet is probably louder.
It's not. It's not.
It is.
You
It
can
is.
try and die on the hill, but I will die on the hill that the loudest thing you will ever hear is a diesel engine of a submarine. All right, so with all of that being said, major purchases, government sites, we kind of touched that already. A lot of this equipment is going to be coming from, what are the websites? I forget.
GovPlanet and Ritchie Brothers.
GovPlanet, Ritchie Brothers. Those are a lot of the government auction sites, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Ritchie is more so on the civilian side of things, but GovPlanet is more focused for the military surplus stuff.
Does that mean Ritchie is going to be a little bit more expensive then?
Depends on what you're going for.
Okay. Sounds good.
They're both run by Ritchie Brothers. It's just GovPlanet is laser focused on the military surplus stuff.
Obviously, we're not going to be using those sites for consumable stuff like food and such. We're going to be going off of restaurant supply sites and stores, right?
Right.
I have a friend who can get me a Restaurant Depot card. So
Nice. So it sounds like this is. It sounds like our location is going to be focused on the northeast. I had to remember the difference between east and west for a sec. Sorry.
So
Pretty
in
good.
the
That was
in
pretty
the
cool.
chat, I dropped a basic blueprint that I pulled from a random project online somewhere. That would be a great idea for what the community center could look like. But instead of a couple of things on there, we replace that with a kitchen or something else. And the center area can be divided into a dining area / living area early on.
Yeah, it would just be like the communal area.
I would probably cut it off probably about the midline on the upper court. I would cut off and like have that as a stage, and then right behind where the hoop is, I would have that as storage areas, offices, and the like. But the rest, I think we would probably keep pretty close to what they are now, with the weight room and mech elect room being like the kitchen and serving area, or kitchen area. Let's talk about waste now. Waste incinerators from the military, so we'd probably be getting those from like GovPlanet and Ritchie Brothers as well.
We may be able to get them with a grant.
I remember Raya was in chat earlier, and she said something about grants, and then someone replied with the current political climate, we may have to
Find alternative funding solutions. We're going to try, though, because...
Oh yeah, always try, and if we find something, awesome. If we don't find something, it's not like we don't have a backup plan. Max 44, let's just get the K trucks. Something like that, I think, would be very, very beneficial for building. Or if anybody has some, or if everybody just brings their old vehicles, there we go. Their old pickups, their Ford Rangers and such, because you can't kill those things.
Just list things I don't got, bud.
Oh, and then if we also register as a 501c3, we could also get benefits through that way. So,
Of course, that is assuming that we're still able to do that later on.
and I just had a thought, like, no, 501c3 is for non-profit in general, not specifically religious.
Right,
Yeah.
but depending on the type of nonprofit, especially with the way government things are going right now, and not trying to get too political, a lot of those things are going to get closed off to folks like us.
Yeah, and Silver, don't worry about getting too political. This is not. It's like this. What we're talking about is inherently political to a degree, so that's something we definitely need to be looking at. But I just had a thought of what, not right now, but after right now, when you know who is out of office, what is going to be the rubber band effect? Like, are we going, because of how, abusive religious organizations are being towards 501c3s and such, are those just going to suddenly be removed from the table or extremely neutered?
Depends on how permanent they make the new stuff that's happening, how deeply these cuts go. Because it might not be a rubber band, it might just be a dead drop, where it's like some things just aren't available anymore, or worst case scenario where we try to set something up and a stupid loophole means we fall through and nothing happens.
One of the nice things I like about having all of you guys, not just the people in my in the voice chat right now, but like the entire server, one of the nice things I like having is all of you guys looking at the stuff, talking about this stuff too, because Armitage Zero just said that we have to have active intelligence on this, and it's like so many of you just notice it. Like, you're not even looking specifically for it, but you just notice stuff like that, and you share it in the Discord, and I love that because it informs all of us on this. Especially me, if I'm going to be, leading this.
Actually, on my own Discord server, and this isn't a plug for my server, I promise.
Oh, go ahead.
I've got my own little category set up where it's watchdog stuff. So anytime I come across a story that might have merit to it, I do a little research, and whatever information I pull that is viable, I put there and share with my little community there. I was watching things happen with the eggs, and the fact that all these birds and other things that have been affected by the bird flu was going to cause huge die-offs in egg production, which was going to make prices go up. And I mean, right now you're looking at the fact that you can't buy more than 1 or 2 things of eggs at Walmart, and the price has gone up 40% in areas. Or with the tariffs that are going on, the cost of coffee is about to skyrocket.
Oh, no, not the coffee! Not the coffee!
You think buying one of those fancy cup of coffee from one of those bougie places is going to be, $6-7 right now. Well, then add an extra 40-50% on top of that because they're having to pay more for export.
And
I think that
gets put on the consumer.
I think that actually may start a second Boston Tea Party style thing. We've done this before.
Coffee by throwing it in the water.
What I'm hearing is we should plan to grow coffee on the co-op.
But you can't grow coffee everywhere. It has to be in a specific.
We're planning on growing it in greenhouse-style enclosures so we can temperature control and all that.
Well, there you go. Now we have a reason to get the grow house, make our own coffee.
There we go. But also, that was the plan. That was the main plan for all of our agriculture, or not all of our agriculture. The majority of our agriculture would be through these grow houses, Connexes, shipping container style stuff. Unfortunately, we completely got off topic and didn't even focus on waste, so I apologize for the shoehorn, but let's try and get back to that. Talking about how we're going to deal with waste.
Right. Well, you can go military. We were talking earlier about getting the furnace stuff, and some folks make jokes about making burn pits, which is a absolutely horrible idea, but works in the short term.
God.
We're just gonna dig a hole and put all the stuff in the hole and then cover up the hole.
Well, that works for a little bit until it starts to become.
Then we dig up another hole. And no, we're not doing that.
No, there's ways to recycle everything from human waste to our everyday use. Whatever we can do to break it down and reduce it would be helpful. And whatever we can't, we can burn off that way.
I think you said something about using it to generate biodiesel?
Yes, you can use a lot of different byproducts, human and otherwise, to create fuels. I mean, the methane release just from human waste can be gathered, processed, and turned into fuel. Now, mind you, we'd have to generate a lot of it, but depending on how many people are there, we could do small batches and have our own potential methane farm.
Can we call it fart gas?
Absolutely. If anyone was calling it anything else, you're wrong.
And then other things for like human waste, it can be certain things can be added to it, and it can be processed in a certain way to be turned into fertilizer without risk of poisoning or getting people sick. Especially if we're following proper food safety rules, where we're washing and boiling and doing everything we're supposed to beforehand.
Which I think would definitely be helpful for a feedback loop for the aquaponics greenhouse.
Yeah.
Because if we don't got to spend as much money on fertilizer and all that, that's good.
The big thing would be for that specifically, you have to look out for anything that could survive the processing that could potentially cause problems. Certain sicknesses or diseases to individuals wouldn't process out properly and could be a hazard. So there would have to be health screening for certain things.
But speaking of that, I do remember that we mentioned, I think yesterday when we were talking about this, that it's not just like the food equipment and the vehicles and such that we can get from GovPlanet, but also like medical supplies for like a clinic.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So obviously, I don't think medicine itself would be covered.
I don't think they're gonna sell us medicine just because of the liability of selling us medicine.
Yeah.
Well, if we can get somebody like a doctor or somebody with actual nursing certification and stuff like that as part of on-site staff, and actually create a small clinic that is licensed, we could potentially bring stuff like that in and make it to where we could take care of things on our own, or at least for the more minor things.
Yeah, make it so like if you don't need to go to the hospital if you need some stitches,
Yeah.
or you've got a tummy ache or the flu.
Basically, we could put together our own sort of like quick clinic or minute clinic or something like that, where people could come in to get minor things taken care of. But if it's like a serious injury, like a broken bone or something like that, we'd have to take them to the hospital.
Yes, but having somebody on site to stabilize whatever is going on so we can get them to the hospital is good.
Right. You're almost.
And
So what you're
I was
almost
gonna say, not just basic first aid either.
Yeah, I was gonna say like almost like someone with the EMT certification.
We could set up a EMT and fire brigades for helping to deal with that. But again, we're going off on a tangent here.
There we go. Where is it? I'm looking for the incinerator that you posted before. There it is.
Eco John.
Eco John. Yep, Septic John. Septic Alternative Wastewater Incinerator.
Now this is basically a single residence unit. We would need larger units for the community center or for small neighborhoods. And it would be more economical to get a bigger unit to serve 10 houses than 10 individual units.
Does Eco John sell units for that? There we go. Shop Eco John.
So at Eco John, they make a literal
There it is.
it's a container with a bunch of those inside of it that does like 2,000 gallons a day.
And that would be great for a large number of people.
How many people? I don't know. I'm not doing that math.
So that's something you buy for like a tiny house community.
Well, the way
Or-
it's being marketed, it looks like it's for remote job sites.
Well, it technically would be at first.
Technically. Wastewater incinerator plants. Oh, it looks like they also do mobile restrooms. Neat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna talk about burning the poo, you might as well collect it. You gotta collect the poo to burn the poo.
Well, for the Eco John system to work, you need a sewage tank to act as a pressure system that you then pump from the tank into the incinerator.
They make it for the Navy. Literally, they advertise it for the Navy. Wow, look at that. God, I can't escape
last
it.
night.
I can't escape the Navy. It's got its
In the
claws in on
Navy.
me.
The man out the Navy, you can't take the Navy out the man.
Why do you think they call them seamen?
Because it's not gay underway.
Hey, you're wearing
100
boots, right? You're good.
I'm wearing Crocs, which doesn't help. So that would work great. And then would it be a good idea to keep this and connect it to the bathrooms on the community center when we're done building the community center?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, I figured that was kind of a stupid question, but still needed to be asked.
That will probably need to acquire more as time goes on as we build the community up larger and larger.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a consistent thing. Like, I can see the incinerators being great for startup regardless. Would it be great to continue using them for the rest of the commune? Or the co-op, sorry?
That depends on the situation. If we get to the point where we can actually properly recycle and reuse 90% of our waste, then what little bit could be burnt, but we wouldn't need anything larger for that.
But it's also getting to the point where you can recycle it is going to take a little bit of doing.
Some creativity and some minute crafts to figure out how to turn old plastic 2 liters into like fishing line and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, something like that.
And then speaking of these being built for communities, I guess we should also start at least talking on what the community itself, how things are going to be grouped, because obviously we're going to start with the community center first. That's the first building that's going up. That's going to be the building that is kind of going to be the hub and probably the center of the town, come to think of it.
I'd imagine we would have like a town square right in front of the community center. So you have a nice big public green space where you can place all the sport ball or just go out and do stuff.
And we just have a big field for events, parties, celebrations, all of that fun stuff.
Now,
And then have the community center on one side.
doesn't have to be a full church, but do we want to build the church from the game there?
Yes. We want to. I'm not sure if it's going to work great.
We can change it up, turn it, put a clock tower on the front of it, and then remove the excessive religious iconography with the individuals. If we're doing a town square, we've got the community center on one side. We can build. My recommendation would be after the main building is built, and if we can get a decent amount of people there, you split the building from that point into 2 teams. You have one start working on individual houses or other houses. That way we can get people out of the community center. And the other team works on the next pressing need, which would be either agricultural setup or something to help with.
I would imagine a maintenance facility would probably be pretty high on that list.
I kind of picture that we'd have a minor maintenance facility that could be run off of the community center, because we're going to have some sort of workshop for maintaining certain things anyways, right?
We're going to need a shop for maintaining the vehicles, and I'm going to need a building to do that in because I can't work in 4-foot deep snow.
No,
Hold
definitely.
on,
I agree
I'm
with
scrolling up, trying to find. It's a mix between the Quonset Hut Connex Box hybrid. That's what I was looking for. I think when we're starting out, while we build the community center, we can. Well, actually, maybe even before that, when we first get to the site, that will be the first thing we build. The first thing we build is that shop, mechanic, maintenance area. We build the maintenance area. Because that's also going to be the equipment that we use to build the community center.
I've seen a quick fab you can do with that, where you have 2 shipping containers on either side, and then get one of those half-can foil roofs to go over between it, and build a workshop in the middle.
That's the plan.
I can't find the image, but that's literally what. But that'll be the first thing we build, because that's going to hold all of the equipment. That's going to be where we work on the equipment that is going to build. That we're using to build the community center and everything beyond. So I apologize. Who was suggesting the idea of 2 different teams? Was it you, Silver?
Yes.
I love that idea too, because both of those are going to be equally as important.
Right. The agriculture would only really be pressing once we start bringing people in for starting that. And if we're not ready to get to that point, then that would be quite as necessary. Also, I sent an image into the Discord for
I'm going to get 4 on the front at Sun's Variety.
There it is. That's literally what we were talking about earlier. And then also getting a better look at it now, couldn't we put like doors in the sides of the Connex instead of just on the front?
Oh yeah, on the sides, on the inside, so you can get at the tools without having to go outside.
I mean, even in snow, that could be quite cozy with a couple of space heaters and a drop tarp on the front of it to keep the warmth.
Some flavor of door. I don't care if it's hard or soft, but I'm going to need a door.
We can get a door. We can get you a door. It's not going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Just got to make sure that airflow, so we're not smothering our fine metalworking and mechanical folks.
I work best in low oxygen environments.
Front.
Well, I mean, we could also build multiple of those, couldn't we?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, we probably would, just so we would have somewhere clean and dry to park a lot of the community vehicles.
yeah, like one's a workshop, one's a parking
Where-
area, one's a metalworking area, and so on and so forth.
Once the majority of that is done and we've moved on to the main, like we actually have the main structures for those particular things, we can convert these into emergency services setup. So our own fire truck and EMT setup and stuff like that. So that way we've got them there and available.
Here's another thought, and that this thought might play into that a little bit. Couldn't we stack Con X's too high?
You can stack them upwards of
Yeah.
8 high if you want.
Yeah, I know, but like we could put another Con X on top of we can put one on top of the other two on either side as extra storage or maybe offices and such. But if we have to raise the roof, yeah, I can kind of see that. Maybe not even having a dome, just having a flat roof across that's slanted. So
We
it's still
definitely want an angled roof at the very least, just so that
angled
for
so
snow
it'll
clearance.
still-
A fun thing about that particular shape, though, with that arch there, we can use that for prefabbing a lot of things. The community center can be made using those, and we can create something large enough that would work, like a old school squad bay, right? And those are significantly cheaper. We just gotta lay the foundation, throw some cement down, and let it cure, and then mount that on top.
Yeah.
And those things can be insulated with spray insulation on the outside that seals.
I also am thinking fashion it closer to John's hangar.
Yeah, I think we want for the community center a more traditional kind of type of building.
So, like I said, fashion it after John's hangar, maybe even having a large door like on the end that opens up for him. And then we
Oh, that'll be great.
And then we also have a it also looks like the Far Cry game. So, just cuz why not? At that point, why not? Just for fun. All right.
Father,
What?
I has a question.
Uh-oh. Boomer has a question. Hold on.
My roommate brought up a point. They feel like people wouldn't take us seriously if we are named after a fictional cult. Do we plan on renaming it?
We do plan on renaming it, but we don't have do we have a name? Do we have a name for it?
No, we
Okay.
don't.
We're
We can-
still
we can make it
spitballing
like a-
names.
I'm gonna make a addition to the server, and we're gonna have a channel just for name suggestions.
So go ahead and put your name suggestions in, since we don't really have a name for it. I think we're going to cut it off there for my own sanity. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, my special guests. Thank you, all of my watchers, everyone who joins the Discord, everybody who has put in input. Is there anything else that anyone wants to say?
Stay safe. Have a good week, everyone.
There we go.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. Sorry for the emotional scarring, but
It's all right.
overall,
We are all already emotionally scarred. So
Thanks for letting me crash for the pod, and sorry for making your editing a little harder to this episode.
oh no. Okay, everyone else, say what you need to say. I'll give the safety brief in a sec.
I'm good.
Not today.
Vickrell, are you going to say something?
Nope. I don't
All
really
right.
have anything to say on this topic.
All right. Standard safety brief that I got when I was in the military. Don't create life, don't destroy life, don't do anything I wouldn't do, don't do anything I would do. Have a nice weekend, everyone. And remember to hydrate.
Hydrate or dihydrate.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And I will see you next time. We don't have a topic just yet, but we will figure that out during the week. Yeah. So, thank you very much. Have a nice weekend. Bye! This has been the Gateway to Eden podcast. Please join us again.